All right, cool. So SEO, now all this stuff connects. So the Google business page is a huge part of SEO, and then your website is a huge part of SEO. How your website's structured and what it looks like, which we're going to talk about in the next one. So I'm going to do my best to keep SEO and the website from bleeding together. SEO is how to get your Google business page ranked here in the map section. Because when somebody searches Google, again, the new data from last year is 70 to 75% of searchers are using the map section. Only 10% of people are clicking on ads. The rest of them are going down here to the organic section, which is where your website lives, right? So it doesn't make, but what the purpose of the website for us as a local service business is to feed our Google business page. So we want to rank the Google business page. We do that with optimizing, and then we do that with our website. And so having an optimized website, having it full of content, and how much of that you have to do is really dependent on your area. So I have a client in LA, he needs a huge website because he's competing against like 10, $20 million companies that have been doing SEO for years. They have 100+ pages on their website. And so for me to try to beat them, I need to have the same amount of content, or at least a similar amount and better, right? So if you're in an area like this, where I don't know what the competition's like here, I just assume it's not like LA, right? And so a 10, 20 page website could be enough in an area like we're in here. Where I'm at in Northern California, I think I had like an 8-page website and I ranked #1. No one beat me because the competition, half of them didn't even have websites. And so 75% of people are going to use the map section. 90% of searchers who are going to Google haven't decided on a specific business. So they're going to Google with the intent of finding a business, not to find the business, but to find a business to work with. An example, I just did this, I noticed this myself. I went to Google to find, my mom just moved to Tennessee. I drove a U-Haul truck from California all the way to Tennessee. That sucked on Highway 40. And so I went to find the number of a U-Haul company local that I know. I know the name of the company, and instead of searching the company, I just typed in U-Haul. And when I got to Google, I just instinctively pressed call on the #1 Google listing, and it happened to not be the company that I intended to go search and call. And I noticed that after I did it, like, oh, look what I just did. I actually went to call this company, but I didn't. I called the #1 company on Google, and they answered the phone. They got my business. So 90% of people are doing that. And even those like me who actually are searching to find a different company may not actually call that company. They may call another one that's ranking higher. And so the point of SEO, is search engine optimization, is to get your business in front of the right people who are searching for your services. That's the whole point of it. Just a quick thing about why I believe SEO is better than ads. We'll get more into this in the social media portion too. But when it comes to SEO versus ads, the con to SEO is it takes time. SEO is like a marathon, it's not a sprint. It takes time to ramp up your SEO signal and to earn Google's trust. But in the long run, your return on that investment is going to skyrocket because your price stays the same and your leads will exponentially increase over time. So the longer you do SEO, the stronger your signal is, the more leads you're gonna get over time without having to pay more. With ads, the good thing about ads is you can get leads now. Like you can start an ad tomorrow and probably start getting leads. The problem with it is your leads are capped from your budget. And then the other problem with ads is you're trying to get your ad to perform to the max, right? But your ads performance is constantly going up and down. And so there's a ceiling when it comes to the amount of leads you're gonna get with the ads. And then you're chasing the 100% performance. So say you're running an ad and you're spending $1,000 a month, and the highest performing ad is gonna get you like 10 leads maybe. This is just for example. And that's at its best. It's gonna constantly be going up and down from that. And then if you want more leads, you have to pay more. So it just costs more to run ads, and that's why I like to focus on SEO as a foundational thing that every business should be doing and focusing on from the get-go. because in the long run, it's going to give you more leads than you will ever need. Like, from my experience, we did over $1 million in revenue just doing SEO, and that was running SEO for like 12 months, and it generated $1 million for us. And then the following year, we stopped SEO. So I spent like $28,000 on SEO for that year. That 28 generated $1 million for us. The next year, we stopped doing SEO, and then I put about $40,000 into ads, and those ads only generated $500,000 specifically to the ad. Our SEO was still bringing in work, but SEO long-term wise, it's 2 to 4 times higher ROI than ads. My opinion is SEO should be your main priority. Once that's working and it kind of hits the ceiling and you really want to scale more, now start doing ads. Yeah, so it's a lot of content and then just the maintenance and upkeep, which we're going to get into kind of what all that means. But yeah, so SEO isn't like just optimize your website once and then it's good, because the algorithms are always changing, search patterns are changing. You want to have somebody managing that on a monthly basis and making sure that your website and your rankings are going in the right direction. If you were to stop doing that, your rankings over time will start to diminish. If there's competition in your area, it's like a race, right? If you stop running hard, people are going to start catching up to you. And so to stay ahead of the game, you need to be pushing. And that's kind of how SEO works. It's like a competition. And so it's something that you really just need to be doing constantly. You need to have somebody making sure that it's actually working, that your rankings are staying up, because if you ever stop, now you risk them coming down and a competitor overtaking you. Does that answer your question? Yeah. More or less? Yeah.
I just got a new, they were telling me that if I run ads, it'll help boost my SEO faster.
It can, yeah.
Okay.
The reason it does that is because it brings traffic to your site and to your Google business page, and Google sees that as a ranking factor because there's just more people. So Google sees that more people are clicking on your site, they're clicking on your Google business page, and so they must like you, so it's going to help you rank. And so that can be a strategy. The problem with that is if you stop your ads and now you lose all that traffic, it's going to go, Google's going to be like, what's going on? What happened? Why is all this traffic not coming to the website anymore? It can. Yeah, click-through, it's called click-through rates. And so how many people are clicking to your Google business page and to your website? If that just drops all of a sudden and it stays consistent for a period of a few months or whatever, you might lose some rankings because there's just not as many people coming. And Google's like, not as many people like him anymore, so maybe I'm gonna not rank him as high. Will Google say that? Probably not, but that's just how click-through rate stuff works. And so there's softwares out there that you can artificially inflate your click-through rate, so you can get softwares to make it look like people are clicking on your Google business page, and Google sees that as, oh, there's people going to his Google business page, so I'm gonna start ranking him higher. But then when you stop that, it just tanks. And if Google catches that you're using a bot or some kind of software, they'll probably kill your page and you won't rank anymore. Are you doing Google business? Are you doing Google ads?
Yeah, I am now.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
My whole thing
I mean, I think using Google's platform is going to help you, right? Yeah, your agency's correct that it will help you. And so you just hope that you have all your SEO backing when you do stop doing the ads, that you have more traffic still coming to help keep those rankings up.
So they were doing the Google ads, but they were still working on, the other company was still working on the SEO since the agreement, it was for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I finished that agreement, I was going to renew it, but the new company told me not to do it.
Does that new company do SEO?
Yeah.
So they didn't even try to sell you on doing SEO? They just told you, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, huh. I don't know why they do that. Yeah, because it's my opinion that SEO, like I explained earlier about the ROI on SEO in the long run. And that could be why they're making more on Google Ads. And that's true, it just happens. So like when you do the keyword research, like it'll give you an average search traffic every single month, and that's just an average of 12 months. And so there's less buying happening in December, So like I've had a few clients that like I show them the rankings are increasing, but the calls drop dramatically. It's like, because no one's buying right now, I can't control that, right? So, so it's completely normal for that to happen. But you do want to make sure that, when the calls should be coming, they are, right? The other thing I'll say about that is I hate the whole 1-year contract thing that so many agencies do. I just can't stand it. Me as an agency, I shouldn't have to lock you into a year to keep you, right? I should be able to show you, at least set the right expectation and show you that what we're doing is working, that we're going down the right path. And that's what then keeps you with me, not because I locked you into a year contract. And I understand why they do it, especially with like SEO, because it can take that long sometimes to see results. And it's the agency protecting themselves, because there's a lot of upfront work with SEO as far as like the agency side. Way more work goes into the upfront. And so you really don't make any money. You start making your money, like the agencies get profitable like 5-6 months later, because you end up getting to a point where, okay, now we're kind of maintaining, we're not having to push so hard, So I see why they do it, but I don't like it. SEO, it's a long-term strategy. Depending on your area, it can take 4 to 8 months to see some kind of rank increase in results. Many businesses stop SEO too early because the calls didn't happen, 3 months in. You said 3 to 6 months, we'd start to see rank, we would start to see something. And then those calls don't happen. And so they leave early. And so what I'm hoping to do with you guys here is to just help you in the long run, because it's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Like, just because you didn't get calls in the first 3 months doesn't mean what the SEO is supposed to be doing isn't working, because you have to get those rankings, and then you need to rank in a larger area to really see the call volume, and that just takes time. There is a heat map, it's got all the dots, and they're red and green and whatever. That is the biggest thing that's what we use, because it tells you how you're ranking in the Google map section in that area. And so when it comes to your website and like where your website and how it's ranking for keywords and stuff like that, like that's what a lot of agencies will show you, like how this keyword is ranking. It's like, top 10 or whatever. That's all great. But if your Google business page and that heat map, if you're not ranked, if your Google business page isn't ranked in those areas, it doesn't matter. So that tool, the heat maps, tracks how your Google business page is ranking, which is fueled by your website. So your website feeds the information. And that's why we just focus on those heat maps, because it tells you exactly where you're ranking in Google, top, 1, 2, 3, 10, whatever, in that location. So you might be ranking number 1 right above your business, but 2 miles down the road, you're ranking number 10. Number 10 doesn't do anything for you, because remember the data, less than 8% of people click on the second page down here. That's the biggest thing. And that's what we tell our clients, like, this is what we're trying to do, is we want this to be green. We want it to be top, 1, 2, and 3 in as big an area as we possibly can, because that's how you're going to capture most of the traffic. Like, we don't even show our clients how the website's ranking for this keyword, because it honestly doesn't matter. It's like, you could have a couple number 1 ranking keywords down here in the organic section where your website is. You could have some pages ranking number 1 down here, and you'll probably get some traffic, but the data, you're only going to get 20-25% of those searchers coming to you, because you're way down here. And by that time, those leads that you're going to get aren't as good, because the other leads, are up here going to the map section. So that's why we show that heat map. So if anyone else is, and you're not getting those heat maps, it's just like, it's a round or square map with a bunch of dots. Ask them if they can get you that.
That's what you got in your own too, or not?
You can't, yeah. I mean, the software to build your own, they're like $40 a month. It's really cheap. Yeah, localdominator.com is where you can do that. Merchant.com is another one that I think Merchant lets you do a couple free ones. So you could like check your rankings once a month. So as far as SEO goes, there's kind of 3 places that we focus on. It's the Google business page, which we just talked about, the Google business profile, your website. We're gonna talk a little bit about the website in this. It's optimizing your website, how it's structured, the different words and stuff that you use, and then backlinks are kind of a third portion to SEO. And basically what a backlink is getting your website linked on other pages on the internet. That's basically, in a nutshell, what a backlink is. Really strong backlinks are getting your chamber of commerce. So if you join your chamber of commerce, you get your website listed on their page. Google sees that's a very high authority local page in Google's eyes. And so Google sees your website on that page. That authority then comes down to your website, and your website's authority is now increased because you have that backlink. And so the more of those kinds of links that you can have, it's like building a spider web. And the more connections and web strands that you have, the more traffic you're gonna get because Google sees that as authority building. And so you wanna find strong backlinks, which we can talk more about. So how we optimize your website. What Google looks at is when it's scanning the internet, it's gonna look at your website and it's gonna scan your homepage, and your homepage has a title tag and a meta tag and a meta description. And what that is this down here. So this blue heading right here is your title tag, and the description below it is your meta description. Everyone following there? What you want to do with these in the title tag, so like for your homepage, every single page on your website has this, and you want this to all be optimized. This is stuff you're probably not going to do, right? Unless you were like me and you want to learn this and get into your website and start messing with this stuff. But it's stuff that's important for you to know so that you can look at your site. If you're paying for SEO, you can look at your site and go, hey, why isn't my service in my title tag, or why isn't my location in my title tag? Because with your title tags and your meta descriptions and your H1s, you want them to match your Google business page. So when it comes to your home page of the website, you want to have your main category, so it'd be like landscaper or landscape designer, in your location. So you want that in your title tag, you want that in your meta description, and you want that in the H1. So like this down here, you know, for you guys, it would be something like landscaper in city, state, and then maybe have your business name or something like that. That would be an optimized title tag.
So you want to stay away from hardscape?
Yes, because there is no Google Business category for that. So remember, you can, but you want to make sure you use landscaper. So use landscaper and the city. You can use other words in there, but make sure those two are in there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but like I'm calling Apple hardscapes. Mm-hmm. Automatically knock me down now that I'm not Apple landscapes.
No, so like for you, I would do, where are you located? Lancaster, yeah. So you could do something like on your homepage, you could say top landscaper, Lancaster, and then have like a dash and your business name, something like that. Because again, this is about getting, tying your Google business page to your website, because we want your Google business page to be the thing that's ranking in the top 3. And so having your website mimic that is what's important. And so having that term landscaper in your homepage and then the location is going to build a real strong signal between the two. When I'm doing keyword research, I'm seeing that the hardscaper and outdoor living terms come up those maps, especially here in Pennsylvania. They're like one of the top 10 searched keywords in Pennsylvania. The problem is Google doesn't have it as a category yet. So Google doesn't, you want to have your category and the area in these title tags and meta descriptions. Everyone following that? We're like in the weeds, man. But it's good to know, because you need to keep your SEO agency. You need to know that they're doing what they should be doing, right? So at least having some kind of understanding. It's one thing to just trust people and buy back your time and hire people out to do their job, but the marketing world's probably worse than the landscape world. There's all trucks, in the landscape world, there's trucks with trucks. They all think they can install pavers, and they're installing pavers on dirt with an inch of sand that don't last 6 months. In the marketing world, there's plenty of SEO people out there claiming that they're going to get you on the first page of Google, and they don't know what they're doing. And so you knowing this is going to help protect yourself from those kinds of people. Yeah.
So when it comes to the optimization of the title tags, is that something that has to be done every certain time, or that's like a one-time?
It's pretty much a one-time thing, depending on search traffic, and if the rankings aren't doing what we really want it to do and everything else looks good, we'll look at the title tags and maybe change it here and there. But pretty much it's kind of a one-time thing. And then your meta description is just, again, you want to use, so see how, I don't know if you can see that. See how these words are bolded? See down here, these words are bolded. Oops, I forgot this is an image. So it says find top luxury, and then it says apartments, and it's bolded. That's your clue that Google sees that as a keyword, right? Google's like, okay, this is what this page is about. And so in their title, they have apartments in the area, and then in the meta description, it's apartments in the area. And so that's like the confirmation there to Google that this is a apartment company in this area. And so in your meta descriptions, again, you want to have your Google business page category, primary category, landscaper, landscape designer, whichever one you choose. And then your main area that you're kind of located in. I have a client in Pittsburgh. Technically his city isn't Pittsburgh, but everyone says they're from Pittsburgh. So we just used Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's a big area, but he's kind of northwest of Pittsburgh. And so you just kind of use your judgment there on that. If you live out in a smaller city, but the larger city that you're right next to is your target area, use that larger city's name, not your real tiny city. So then it's the same thing with the H1. It's when you're designing a website, you can set any of this to be an H1. It doesn't necessarily have to be the big, bold text here, but same thing in the H1, you want to include your Google business page, primary category, and the location. And that's a setting on the back end of the website. So when you're talking to your SEO people, you can say, hey, what's my H1? Is it this up here? This would be a great H1 if I had trusted remodeling expert in Royce City. He has remodeling in his name, and so that's it there. Having those three, the title tags, the meta descriptions, and your H1 all correlating with your main Google business page category and the area that you're in is the first three things that Google sees when they're searching the page on your website. And so that's part of, so that's one of the main things to optimize. The next thing is internal linking. All internal linking is just the links. So like on your homepage, you scroll down, you have a link to your service page. That's an internal link to your service page. When you get to a service page, you can internally link to a location page. And so just having those links across your pages are important. You want to have service pages. So you want to have main category, your Google business pages, main category. You want to have those pages. On that page, you want to have a landscaper service page. And then on that page, you want to have additional pages for each of the other services. So like planting could be one, irrigation could be one, your hardscape services could be one. And then you could even get more niche down with that with your paver patios and retaining walls and outdoor. Like you want to have a page for every single one of the services that you do, because we're just giving Google that clear information that this is what we do. And then again, on those pages, you want to include, so if you have a paver patio page, you want to have paver patios in the city, in the title tag, and the meta description, and the H1. Following that, yeah.
Does Google read hidden pages that aren't on your tabs, or pages that are on your website but customers can't really get to? Will you have them on there for content?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, will it read those?
It will, yeah. So like we'll put them like in the footer. Like we'll do additional links down in the footer. You don't want to hide it. Have a word or have a link there with no text that's kind of hidden that no one could even see. You don't want to do that. Google knows you're like trying to pull a fast one on them. It doesn't have to be in your menu. Just put basic stuff in the menu. Just the stuff that you really want your customers to see, your services, maybe about us, and the locations, maybe not the locations. Everything else can just be internally linked or down in the footer. You don't have to have everything in the menu.
So like, would there be a benefit on a patio page to have different city patio pages? So patios in Oakland, and then like one for East Lansing and one for Williams, like all those areas, like creating patio pages in each one of those pages for
Yeah.
each city?
Yes, but I would do it like this. So this business, so there's the home page, and then there's our service pages here. And then we have a locations page. And then in the locations page, we have a list of all the cities that they work in. And then these pages have links to, they will, have links to a service page specific to that location.
So you're getting real deep. So your locations take
Yeah.
you to basically other websites for those locations for the same service.
Yeah. So essentially, like how your initial homepage and all your services are filled out, all that gets duplicated for each location. But you can only reach those if you go to the location and do that. If you were to pull those heat maps and you're not ranking well in a certain area, that's how you then chase those rankings and get those rankings improved, is by having a location page and then all those services filled out on your website, and then link it to like one of your product pages or service pages on your Google Business page. That's how you can then spread your ranking everywhere. And so you treat the location page like its own little website kind of thing.
It's just like back into the same website.
Yeah, I mean, it's all the same website, but it's just the way you think about it, the way you want to structure it is each location page is kind of like its own new structure. So each location page has its own services, all the same ones that you had on your homepage. And so you can see you can end up having we haven't even talked about blogs. We don't do a lot of blogs because you can get so nitty gritty. If you have like this guy, for instance, he has where'd it go? Yeah, 4, 8, 11 different locations, and each of those are going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different services. That's like 60 pages right there, minimum, right? 66 pages minimum on the website. Then you could even get crazier, and within your services, so like kitchen remodel, within your services, you can get even more niched down into the specifics of that service. So like for like paper patios, you could have a page for Belgard papers, Techo Block papers, or gray papers, or blue paper. You can get like crazy just to add more content, because it's all relative to it, right? And it's building contextual relevance is what it's called. And so the more contextual relevance that you can have on the site, the better and the stronger it's going to be. Do you have to go that deep? It just depends on your competition and the area that you're in. And so if your competition has 100 pages, then this is how we would go about adding more content, not having 10 regular pages and then a big blog. Quick thing about blogs, if your SEO company is doing, because some SEO companies, that's how they will add content to your site. They will just write a blog, as opposed to building out all these other pages. I think it's better to build out all these other pages instead of writing just a random blog. But if they are doing a blog, make sure that the blog topics are local intent, not just a random top 10 papers to use. Like have it be top 10 papers in this area, because now it has local intent and it's gonna capture more local traffic, not just nationwide traffic.
Will you get a similar effect with a blog and a web page like this if the blog is done well?
Mm-hmm.
Does it have the same effect as a web page?
Yeah, agencies are just doing good blogs because it's content, and if you can structure your blog strategy to still build that contextual relevance that this would. I just like this better because it's just, to me, it seems way more relevant, and I feel like this strategy would probably outdo that strategy. Blogs are like last thing on our list. In 5 years, I might have some pretty good data on that, but that's my mindset right now. Then on your page, you want to have 800 to 1,000 words. It's not hard to do. That's what this site has on the homepage. You just add some paragraphs below to just add that kind of content. Again, it's just feeding Google information. We're just trying to feed Google information, get Google to trust us and see us as more authority than our competitors. And so having 8 to 100 words is kind of a happy medium. Again, if you're in a huge market and you have crazy competitors with 2,000 word pages, now you're going to have 2,000 word pages. It's all kind of relative to what your competition is doing. So in my mind, because I fought this so much when I first did my site, because I'm not a landscaper. I don't everybody's calling me to prune bushes and mow their lawn. It's like, I don't do that, But the problem is you show 90% of the population a picture of one of our projects and ask them, who would you call to install this? They're going to say a landscaper, 90% of the time probably. In California, they might say contractor because I have to have a contractor's license there. You have to take tests and they just want money. But you really have to rank for that, but then make it very clear on your page, on your homepage, when they land on it, what it is that you actually do. Like, you might get some calls for people that want you to come mow their lawn, but you don't have anything on your website about that. And so you just kind of have to deal with it until the hardscape term becomes, more used and an actual category in Google. When I do the keyword research, you can target on your website, you can target like any keyword that you want, really. I mean, you can not target landscaper at all, but now you're playing by not doing that, now you're trying to get traffic down here in the organic section, which there's just less people clicking down here. Does that answer your question? Okay. So a big thing, like the common mistakes when it comes to the keywords is not using the city in those meta tags and meta descriptions and title tags. When you're doing the keywords, it's not having your city in your website. I don't know how many websites that I've seen that there's nothing about where it is they do any work. And so that's a big mistake. Same with, this one, targeting overly broad terms. And so going after landscaping versus being more local intent, landscaping contractor in this city, you always want to have more local intent in your content on your website, because we're going after a local audience. We're trying to capture that local audience, not a national audience, right? And so keyword planner, we talked about that. Again, we're in the weeds here. This is stuff you're probably not going to do, but it's good to know that, there's all sorts of tools out there, Search Atlas, Ahrefs, that you can do your own keyword research. There's YouTube videos on how to do that. So if you're ever interested in how your website's ranking or what keywords, you just want to make sure that your agency is doing what they should be doing. And there's all sorts of information out there for that. Other backlinks you can get is like if you're a Unilock or Techoblock or a Belgard authorized contractor, maybe those other companies have like a contractor directory that you can get on. If you can do that, call your reps and say, hey, can we get our business listed on a directory somewhere? You want to get your website linked on as many other websites that you possibly can. And those industry specific sites are super strong, high authority links. Is anyone here an authorized contractor with anybody? Yeah, cool. So that definitely helps your site a lot. Don't go on Upwork or Fiverr and get somebody to get you a bunch of backlinks, 1,000 backlinks. I was looking at somebody's site a few months ago. Half his backlinks were like to porn sites. He was a landscaper. I was like, dude, well, he's like, oh yeah, I went on Upwork and had a guy get me a bunch of backlinks because I heard you're supposed to have a lot of backlinks. Like, here you go, you got a lot of them, but they're to porn sites. So do you think Google sees that connection at all? Yeah, so that was pretty funny. So don't do that. In the SEO world, if somebody calls you up and they say they can rank you in 30 days, they're more than likely using the black hat tactics like click-through rate stuff and artificially inflating your traffic to get you those rankings, or they're doing it through a like a very broad, ultra specific kind of keyword. It's just, those kind of guarantees, you just can't make it. And when it comes to SEO, so don't buy any of that. A lot of companies, they won't provide, not a lot, but the reports aren't very good. So, if you ever use an SEO agency, make sure you're getting reports every single month that specifically has that heat map that we talked about. And then SEO is a lot of work. And so it's not cheap. It's like $500 SEO packages aren't going to do anything for you. Unless you're in a really, I keep saying this, unless you're in a really tiny town and you really don't need a whole lot of work, maybe a cheap package like that could do something for you. But the average $500 a month SEO plan is not gonna work. I'm trying to help our industry even more and training other marketers on how to do this stuff. My biggest problem with them is all they want to do is make a sale, right? They were like us when we first started our businesses. We just want to make a sale. We'll lowball our price to make a sale. And it's the same thing in the marketing world. And so those lowball prices, consider that a red flag when you're hunting. If you're ever going to be, looking for an SEO agency, that's a red flag, because this stuff takes time. Backlinks, like your Chamber of Commerce, my clients, we call the Chamber and we pay for that year-long membership to get that link. Some of those links aren't cheap. We're going to pay $500-600 for those links. And so a good link costs money. And so that if somebody's charging you just a couple $100 a month for SEO, they're not getting you any links, or if they just cheap, terrible ones. And so something to watch out for. Yeah.
Like if I decided to educate myself on this side of business,
Mm-hmm.
how many hours per month would you say basically get a solid SEO?
With the right tools, if you were able to dedicate like 5 to 10 hours a month, depending on your area again, it could be less in a less competitive market. With the right tools. If that's something that anyone's interested in, I'm more than happy to point you in the right direction there. All those tools, and I'll say it's doable. If you're into tech and stuff like that, it's doable. It's not, this stuff, it seems like a lot, but once you're kind of in it a minute, you start to make the connections. Not that bad. So it is doable. I did it. So that is an option too.
What's the average cost of a good SEO?
At least $1,000 a month. Yeah. Most of our clients are like 1,500 to 1,800. We have a couple over 2,000 because they're in just crazy big markets, and it's just going to take a ton of content. So there's a lot more time, a lot more backlinks. But the ROI on that, SEO can generate over $1 million if done right, and that's going to be, the highest ROI investment in marketing that you're probably going to make for your company. So in the long run, view SEO as an investment and make sure it's doing what it needs to do and is bringing in the work that it needs to bring in. It's funny, I posted the other week on my Facebook page and said that WordPress sites are overkill. It's like when it comes to local business, it's like using a sledgehammer to put a nail in the wall. And all of these professional web development people, I don't even know who the heck they are, and they follow me, came out and just blasted me, I'm a hack, and blah, 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 blah. And so one of the guys sent me a couple articles, and I read the articles, and I was like, and these are from like SEO companies. And basically what the articles were saying was, yes, WordPress sites tend to rank better than, say, Squarespace or Wix or any of the other ones. But that's because so many professionals who understand SEO and understand how to structure a website, they like to use WordPress because it's so customizable. I mean, you can do anything with a WordPress site. And so the article that he sent me was kind of like proving my point, because the other sites don't rank as well because it's more DIY, just people who don't know how to like optimize for SEO. And so when it comes to our local business and the markets that we are trying to rank in, again, it depends on the competition. If you have a competitor who has this crazy big, highly optimized, high-ranking WordPress website, you probably should use a WordPress site to go after him. It's a race, right? If you have somebody using if you're in a race and you're racing against Formula One cars, you probably need to use a Formula One car. But if you're in a construction derby, you don't need a Formula One car. Just get something down here. The other problem with WordPress is you really need someone who really understands WordPress, because it's just beast. It's great, but if it's done wrong, we have a few clients that they're just too invested in the site to redo it, but it's fine, but it's not performing very well. So if they lived in any other higher competitive market, they would need to scrap their WordPress site and start completely over because it's just too heavy. They have way too much stuff in the back end on it. When you use those other sites, they are what they are. You just design it, make it look good, and they plenty well for 95% of small business. Yeah, so if you were coming to me and you're like, hey, I have this one guy, he's got a WordPress site, I have a Wix site, no matter what we do, we just can't get above him. I would say, yeah, you probably should go to a WordPress site. If everything else was right, you know, and you've just been fighting tooth and nail to get your, you know, ranking higher than him. At that point, I would say, yeah, then you need to play on his level, right? And so, yes, WordPress sites do rank better, but within the context of where you are and what we're trying to do, you don't have to have a WordPress site. Yeah, so like if you're in a big area like Chicago as an example, so Chicago, the addresses go out pretty far. But then there's all these little neighborhoods, you know, suburbs. You want to write content for those suburbs if you're trying to rank in different areas. And so, yeah, it's Chicago, but then you want to get very specific and write content, you know, so adding pages for those suburbs. No, so like I have like, maybe, you know, I might go down to like 50 if it's a real populated, you know, real dense population area, you know, I might go down to 50, but otherwise, I don't want to compete with myself, right? I see as really good. I'm going to beat everybody, right? But I'm trying to be that for two people in the same market. One of them are going to lose. Yeah. Anything else? Do you feel like this has given you some more of an understanding than you had before? So it's helpful. All right, good. Because I know some of this stuff can just be boring. Yeah, Bruce?
If we have multiple addresses, are we better off, like, if say we have a main address and we have a laydown yard, is it better to have those built in? Does that help any of those builders? Or is it better to have that main address?
So like, yeah, you can only have the one address on your Google Business page, and then I would have the same one on your website. Yeah, so you say you have like an office address and then like a yard address.
Yeah, we have a couple of yards, so that's what I was trying to figure out. So,
But just one Google page?
yeah. But we're like, where we're located, our work's 30, 40 miles from where we're actually located. So where we're at is a very small market.
Okay.
It's a lot of maintenance stuff. That's what we started. But when you get into the hardscapes, what we're moving towards and growing towards, it's 40 minutes away from us.
Okay.
So I was trying to figure out how we could.
Is your Google page already, you have an address on it already? I would just leave it that address unless you want to deal with re-verifying it. But if so, say you have another location closer to your target area, like considerably closer, I'd probably use that and go through the whole verification process with that. If it's a yard though, do you have like any kind of like place you could set up a desk and a computer where it makes it look like someone could come visit you? Then it might be hard.
Other places we do, but it's not far enough. It wouldn't be a big difference.
Oh.
It wouldn't.
Gotcha. Yeah, the whole verification thing is a real pain in the butt. And so I kind of weigh like, is it really worth it? You know, it's got to be really worth it to have to go through it again, especially if you already have the address verified. Because for us, you know, for a service business that goes out and serves people and we don't have like a storefront, it's really hard to get those location verified addresses. So if you have one, it's got to be very beneficial to make it worth trying to go through that again. So if your area is pretty small, I'd say just leave it. I know, it used to be easy. Yeah, that's how I started mine. It was at my house, mailed a postcard, and it was done. Yep.
Is it tough if you transfer location if you move? Is it just still as simple as changing your address?
You'll have to re-verify. It sucks, but it's also good because when it was easy,
Oh, you can send a postcard to some your neighbor's house or whoever's house in a different city and stuff.
yeah, that's what I did. I was trying to rank in another city. You know, it was like 25 miles away and there was more competition there. So I called up a buddy and said, hey, can I use your address? Yeah. And it worked. I got ranked there. When you do that, you have to use a different phone number. You have to use a different landing page on the website. So you can't have the homepage of your site be on two different Google pages. So you would want to have, for me, I had like a Willits page and a Ukiah page. And that was the landing page for each of the two Google business pages. But yeah, you probably can't get away with that anymore. Anything else?
Let's get Nick